Thank you and welcome to the Moran Eye Center. My name's Jeff Petty. I am an ophthalmologist. I'm an associate professor of ophthalmology at the Moran Eye Center at the University of Utah. This year is an exciting year, particularly for amateur or even real astronomers. This eclipse is not a whole lot different than a normal solar eclipse, with the exception of it actually passing through the entire continental United States. It's anticipated it will be the most tweeted about event potentially in history, at least in Twitter's short history. So we should take advantage of this event. It's an exciting time. Even if you're not in the path of the total eclipse, you can still take advantage of looking and seeing the sun and what's happening with the solar eclipse. So briefly, what is a solar eclipse? It's when the moon passes in front of the sun. So during the day, if it passes entirely in front of the sun, you'll go from having bright blue skies to something more like dusk, where actually the stars will come out. That's the only time that it's safe to look at an eclipse without proper eye safety equipment. And that's during the path of totality, when you cannot see any of the bright sun. So why is this important? Well, let's just start with the basics of an eye. So here we have our beautiful model eye. This eye shows the most important topic of our discussion today, which is all of the light entering into the eye is going to focus on one part of the eye, the bullseye. The bullseye is the fovea or macula. So right now, as you're looking at someone's face, your ability to identify who they are is entirely reliant on a healthy macula. So if you damage that part of the eye, your ability to recognize faces or your ability to even read fine print would be diminished. And that's the part of the eye that we're concerned about during a solar eclipse. So we all know magnifying glasses, and if you take a magnifying glass and you focus the sun's light anywhere, we all know that it's hot, it can start a fire, it can burn an ant, hopefully not, but it could. And the same thing, if you think about it, the eye is simply a magnifying glass. It's going to take rays, it's going to magnify it on one point. And anytime you're looking directly at the sun, you're having damage to the fovea, that part of the eye that's so vital to our vision. So what to do? What to do during an eclipse? Well, glasses, not sunglasses, not plain sunglasses, not even dark sunglasses, not even 5 pairs of dark sunglasses. Actually, a pair of glasses specifically designed for a solar eclipse. So these will block out essentially all but one millionth of the sun's rays. In fact, you know you have a good pair of solar eclipse glasses if when you put the eclipse glasses on, you can't see anything unless you look directly at the sun, in which case you'll be able to see the sun. Eclipse glasses are available locally at the Clark Planetarium. They can also be purchased online. There are some guidelines that the American Academy of Ophthalmology has online, which will tell you the exact type of filter you need. But that's the only way that you should ever look at an eclipse, except for the moment when the sun is completely blocked. A lot of people want to know, what about smartphones? Can I use smartphones to take a picture of the eclipse? So if we take our smartphone and we hold it up to the sun today and we try to take a picture, it doesn't really work. And the exact same thing will happen during the eclipse, unless you have a filter. And this is the only time that you can take one of these filters and put it on a camera, is over your smartphone. You can cut this out or just hold it, put that in front of the camera. You can hold that up to the sun, and that's a safe way that you can take pictures during an eclipse. If you have a regular camera where you're holding it up to your face, if you have a pair of binoculars, you cannot use these filters. You cannot put these glasses on and take a picture through a camera. You cannot put these glasses on and look through binoculars. Actually, it will end up melting this in a short period of time if you're looking at the sun. So if you are a photographer and you're interested and you would like to take photographs of the eclipse, go somewhere like Picture Line locally or a local camera shop. They'll be able to set you up with the correct filters. So what happens then? What happens if a poor unfortunate soul gets caught up in the moment, in the spirit of the eclipse, and they just look for too long? Well, this part of the eye, again, we've talked, this part's responsible for your detail vision. And if you were to look too long and damage that area of the eye, you would have potentially a permanent spot right in the center of your vision. I don't know if you get annoyed by a spot on your glasses, but imagine a permanent spot the rest of your life right in the dead center bullseye, anywhere you look the rest of your life. And that's what can happen if you look at an eclipse or the sun for too long. This side, this is a picture of the inside of the eye. So if you were to take a camera, put it inside my eye and focus on the back of the eye, this is what you would see. This is your optic nerve. That takes all the information straight back to the brain. The optic nerve gets all of its information from the rods and cones that live here in the retina. This is the exact spot where the light focuses, and that's the exact spot where damage occurs. And this is a cross-section. What a cross-section means is if I take the retina and I peel it off, it's a sheet of cells. I cut it, and then I look and I count all the different layers. I see these layers right here. This is where the damage occurs, back at these layers. So the solar eclipse should be taken advantage of. We all should look at the sun as long as we have our solar eclipse glasses. If you are heading north, places like, not quite as far north as Pocatello, but if you're going somewhere like Jackson Hole, going somewhere Casper, Wyoming, Rexburg, Idaho, you'll be in the path of totality where you'll have a brief 1 to 2 minutes where you can take eclipse glasses off when the sun is completely blocked by the moon. But if you're in Utah, anywhere in Utah, south of or north of where the path of totality will be, you have to have eclipse glasses. Questions? Yeah, so there is a certification. There's a certification that will certify that it is blocking the adequate amount of light. The challenge is a lot of the eclipse glasses may or may not list that certification. The thing that you want to do on the inside is you want to look and read and look for that ISO certification on the inside of your glasses. Short of that, if you want more specifics, I can actually get you the numbers and things of the specific type of ISO certification if you'd prefer.
How is it different from regular sunglasses?
Great question. So how are eclipse glasses different from regular sunglasses? A regular pair of sunglasses will block out a certain percentage of light. It might be something along the lines of 10, 20%. This pair of solar eclipse glasses, this is going to block out essentially a millionth of the sun's rays. So it will block out all of that and leave you just a little bit. And again, the way you know if it's actually working, if you put these on, you will see nothing other than perhaps a reflection of something behind you until you go and look at the sun. In fact, there are some great online reviews right now of eclipse glasses with 1 star because when people are putting the eclipse glasses on, they don't see anything and they're returning them. Unfortunately, they didn't take a moment and look at the sun to make sure the eclipse glasses were actually working.
Are welders' goggles the same thing as those?
So it's a really great question. The question is, are welders' goggles or is a welder's shield the same as an eclipse glass? The answer is it depends, and you just won't know. There are specific welder shields that can be used, and for a listing, the American Academy of Ophthalmology on their website has the listings of the 4 types of welder shields that can be used.
How fast can damage happen?
The question is, how fast can damage happen when you're looking at the sun? It varies. It varies on a few things. Some of us have a gene for macular degeneration, and if you have that gene and you're older, you might already have damage. So it might be on the order of perhaps, a few seconds. But the answer is we really don't know. Some people have larger pupils that can let in more light. The safest advice is don't look at the sun or don't look at the eclipse at all unless you have the solar eclipse glasses on.
So knowing kids, you have maybe infants, not even infants, but toddlers, and they can't keep those glasses on. What do you suggest? I mean, those are hard to put on their ears to begin with.
Yeah, great question. So the question is, for small children who want to view the eclipse, who may not keep the glasses on, what do we recommend? One of the most fun part of an eclipse is the idea of a pinhole. So many of us may be familiar with a pinhole camera. If you take a piece of paper, a piece of aluminum foil, you put a pin in it, and then you look behind on a piece of white paper, you'll actually see the eclipse happening on that paper. And the coolest thing to do is if you can go find a tree during the eclipse, and you find a tree that lets through some light, you'll look down and you'll have hundreds of little eclipses down on the ground. And that's actually the safest way to view the eclipse for small children. And it's also the most exciting because they can actually see hundreds of these little outlines, silhouettes of the sun with the moon blocking it.
What kind of damage?
So the question is, what kind of damage can occur? The non-technical answer, I mean, safest way to think about it is think of it as kind of thermal damage. You know, the eye is acting essentially as a magnifying glass. Light rays enter in, it wants to focus all those rays at that point. So all those cells there are getting all that light intensity. Now that light intensity, there is heat, but there's also just damaging light rays that are all focusing at that point inside of the eye. And so you essentially get structural damage to the part of the eye that's responsible for your best detail vision. Again, your ability to read, your ability to recognize faces, that's all in that area. Other questions?
And this is the same damage like today, if you looked up at the sun. That's the same type of damage you would have during this. I feel like some people might think, oh, it's going to be more intense because of the eclipse, but it's actually the same. Like if you're looking up at the sun right now, you're going to have the same kind of damage. This just happens to be an eclipse. Is that right?
That is correct. Again, the question, is this the same type of a damage that would occur during an eclipse, looking at eclipse, that would occur just looking at the sun? Yes, the exact same type of damage. And you know, you might think that it's safer during an eclipse, like you can chance it. You may be able to look at it for a few seconds just because the moon is blocking part of those sun's rays. But what can actually happen is it's going to be dimmer perhaps at that moment. Your pupil might dilate more and you actually may get more sunlight in the eye.
What sort of timelines did the symptoms potentially show up during this study?
You know, good question. The question is, what timeline do symptoms show up with damage? It's usually, you know, we've all looked at a really bright light or had a flash go off in our eyes, and we have that sort of, you know, that after image that will sit there for a moment. The damage typically won't show up for a couple of days, at least something that we would be able to see structurally. I think it's likely that you actually continue to have symptoms from that point forward.
And this is permanent damage you're talking about?
Potentially, yeah, certainly in its most severe and worst form. And again, to describe what that would be, there's lots of different blindness. So you can have a disease called glaucoma, which is a disease of your nerve, and you can have your peripheral vision shrink down until you can still see the 20/20 line, but you're functionally blind. You can't see your surroundings, you can't navigate, you can't drive. The type of blindness that occurs with a solar eclipse is that dead center vision. So you can see everything around you, you can navigate, you can walk, but you can't read that 20/20. You may not be able to read the 2400, even in the big E, if the damage was severe enough.
And that specific part that's damaged, that's your retina, or is it, yeah, could you explain that one more time again?
Yeah, so with the help of our diagram, the light will enter the eye, will pass through the lens of the eye, which is going to focus here at the back. The retina is the collection of rods and cones inside of the eye. That's the tissue. Within the retina, there's a small spot called the fovea and the macula, and that's where the light's going to focus. So it's damage in the macula. The same type of symptoms someone would have from macular degeneration, it would be the same symptoms they would have from solar retinopathy.